Oh, it's a beautiful day here, Outliers. Regardless of where you are listening to this, just know that this message is coming to you with love, with heart, and with genuine desire for the best of you today. My name is Niiamah Shang, and thank you so much for letting me be a part of your journey here on the Outliers Edge podcast, where we champion game-changing leaders and entrepreneurs to take the things about them that make them different to make their biggest difference in the world. And we have one of those leaders here today. Her name is Jessie Lynn. And Jessie, I have to say, I'm thrilled to be in space with you. I am honored that you're taking time to come and meet and share more about yourself and your experience with Outliers. And I'm just excited for the game we're going to play today. Thanks so much.
Oh my goodness. Thank you for having me on. This is great. I knew when the team sent this to me, I started diving in and looking at what you do and why you do it. And that's a very important piece for me as well. And so it's an honor to be on today. Thank you for the invitation.
Oh, well, thank you here. And I like to start off each conversation here, Jesse, with a component of like how you've shown up for me. We're still getting to know each other.
Yeah.
But I like to start off there. And then what I want to give you spaces to talk more about like what you do and why you do it. And just give some context for everyone as we come in, right? But if you're good with that, I'd like to just share a little bit about my experience with you so far. Are you good with that?
Go right ahead. I am
Yeah.
all ears. Let's go.
Yeah. I think the way I'm going to do this today is just to come from a place of gratitude and to let you know what I'm grateful for about you, Jesse. One of the things that I'm grateful for about you is the way that your your energy is both forward movement, like I know we're going to get a lot of things done, but also very present, as in like, but there's no rush. Like we're gonna get we're gonna get it done. It's gonna
Right.
happen. We can't not get it done, but at the
Right.
same time, like, and I think what comes from that is just a deep level of trust, right?
Yes.
And I
Very
feel
much
like,
so.
yeah, I like when I experience it, I think I feel the experience of two levels of trust. The most important one is the deep trust of self, like the level of experience, expertise, and all the work that you've done to be in that level there. But on the other side of it, like what it, I guess this is the second level, but it feels like it also bestows a level of trust for me, where it's like no matter where we go, Jesse's good.
It's
Like
gonna be
we,
fun.
yeah, we
It's gonna
good.
be fun. Everybody
We,
saddle up.
yeah, we really good with that. And I like to start out there just to make sure I'm seeing you, and I'm excited to see how that expands in our conversation here. So thanks much here. Uh, you said everyone settle up, and I think that is absolutely appropriate here. Why don't we give Outliers a bit of context of who you are? Don't hold back, because
Okay.
we are a group of people who would love to just do extraordinary things. We'd love to hear about from you about like what are the things you've been up to and why you do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the fun phrase of saddle up is a very common theme in my life, as I'm known as America's singing cowgirl, and have basically spent my entire life on the equine ranch and raising horses and teaching young equestrians and even adult equestrian students and in various equine disciplines, whether it's barrel racing, breakaway roping, goat tying, all the way to show horses, dressage, Western pleasure, reining, cutting, you name it, we've done it at some point. And but I want to touch on, the America Singing Cowgirl part. Music and horses have always been a part of my life, and it's been something that's very special, not only just for me but my family as well. And my grandmother got me started singing in church at the age of 3, and then I was classically trained for 10 years as a first operatic Broadway singer, and did my first ever rodeo at 7 years old, carrying the American flag with a wireless headset and a very feisty Palomino pony that was not having anything to do with it and was rearing up and bucking in the same time. But I sang the national anthem, gosh darn it, and we got it done. And so, I mean, really, you could say the brand America Singing Cowgirl was born in that moment in time. And um, years down the road, I never expected my experiences as all the way from a young child to even into early adulthood to pay off in so many ways that it has. And I mean, out of just my experiences in 4-H as a young kid and growing up and holding officer positions and school leadership, Beta Club, having good grades, getting to go to Auburn University on full ride scholarships, and chase the passion that I love is just something that I could have I don't even probably think in my wildest dreams cooked up. However, they were a big part of my dream. I think every little girl at some point dreams about being something bigger than the normal or the quote unquote social norm. And um, you know, when things start happening and you kind of have this deja vu moment, you're like, oh my gosh, it's happening. This is happening. This is taking place. This is the dream that I thought was literally just a dream is becoming a reality. And I've been so fortunate enough that in my walk and in my journey, I've lived dreams within dreams over and over and over again. And I'll never forget the phone call I made to my mom when I was in my first semester at Auburn I came in as a sophomore, but as a freshman, right? And I'd only been at Auburn 2 weeks, and something kept, pulling on my shirt tail saying I needed to pursue the music career wholeheartedly and go professional with it. And I'm sitting here going, well, we know we have the talent. The business aspect is something that I've got to figure out. But I'm like, I've ran a successful equine company since the age of 15. So what's to stop me from there? And that was it. I told mom, I said, look, I'm not dropping out of school. I want to finish school. I want to get this done. I want to pursue this actively during my time at college. And when I say the rest is history, that was it. The first major show we ever played professionally as Jessie Lynn, America's Singing Cowgirl, was for Auburn University's College of Agriculture homecoming tailgate with over 5,000 people. So, I mean, and just 2 years after that, we were opening stages for the Oak Ridge Boys and Jamie Johnson. And it just, I mean, these classic cats, Dennis Quaid. I'm just, I mean, here I am, at the time, 19 or 20, and I'm going, what is happening in life? Like, this is amazing. And, of course, there were fair shares of struggles, but I have been so blessed in many aspects because out of that has come three corporations that I operate and own. And, it's a part of the brand. We have Dirt to Diva Productions. That's one of our songs that I first ever wrote on the first album that we have. We have Dirt to Diva Publishing. And then, of course, I have the Equine Company that's kind of an umbrella company under Dirt to Diva Productions, but it's called Alabama Extreme Equine Productions. And I just tell you, it's been a ride. That is for sure. And then, here recently, how you and I actually met was through kind of my podcast, the Be a Dreamcatcher podcast, and we'll dive into that here a little bit too. But just to kind of give you the sugar coat to begin with.
I appreciate that quote right here, Jesse. It's really there's a number of things that struck me as you were talking. Do you mind if I share back some of them?
Sure, go right ahead.
Yeah, one like some of this here is like I feel like you really own who you are. You like and you own that early. You're like you came in, you had the business. So you started your first business at 15? Or was
Yes,
it like,
that's
okay.
correct. Yes.
So you started your first business at 15, went to school. Like even as you were talking about like calling your mom, I realized I had my own story in my mind because I was thinking about my parents and the conversation I had when I wanted to say I'm leaving, like I was an actuary, I want to be an entrepreneur, and what was involved in it. But what I hear from you is like, hey, I'm not stopping this, but
Wow.
but like what I get the sense of like the time is now. The time is not later. The time is now. Like,
Yes.
if you can like recall any of this for anyone who's sitting on the fences around something, uh, realistically, I think that our families, the people who know us, people who have seen us, people who want so much for us, are used to seeing us in a certain light,
Yes.
and then when we bring up something that might be the next part of the dream, that goes that changes that. There's some things to navigate. So I'll be curious if there's anything that you have from that period of time that you're going to share with us.
It's funny when I called my mom and dad both have always been so supportive in anything that you want to do. We'll support you 110%. But here's the thing, there's no halfway doing it. You need to put all of your effort into it and be the best that you can be. If it's something that I feel is worth pursuing, then you need to pursue it to the fullest. It's not, I'm going to put a little in here and then try to step it forward. And so I remember what my mom told me. She said, that's great. She said, we'll support you in any way that we can, but we know nothing about the music business. So you're going to have to figure it out. And, we did. And through literally now we're in the 11th year of continuing to learn this business. I say continuing to learn because you never know it all. and this industry changes so much. You have to be prepared for the change that comes, because the universe changes on a daily basis. We know that, but now with technology and different stuff, it's changing second by second now. And so we just put rubber to the pavement, and hard work paid off in the end, and still does.
So I love this here. And you alluded to something here that I get really curious about, because you said it's been like 11 years now with this
Yes.
here. And then you've also said like you've had to keep, like, the universe keep changing and such. I'll be curious for you, like, what are some, like, the curveballs? What are some of the things that, like, you weren't expecting, or that you had to, like, navigate throughout this part of the journey? And it might be with that one particular corporation, or it might just be like overall, like, you've had a lot of different experiences. So why don't we bring them up to the table here for anyone that's like in the
Yeah.
midst of it right now?
Yeah, so obviously starting a business so young, obviously I think financial, organization is something that you learn a lesson very quickly on. And I will say that is a lesson also that has continued to morph and change, because needs for the businesses change, needs for travel, needs for obligation, recording, trying to get equipment replaced. When I was Miss Rodeo USA in 2022, diesel was $8 and $9 a gallon. So trying to make that was probably the most notable one, is making the correct financial decisions to put myself in the best position possible to excel. Granted, there were times that, okay, maybe we didn't have the capital we needed to run a project full steam ahead. Well, what we did then is we took a step back, and we took the project step by step. Sometimes, we were just chatting off air a little bit about not rushing on things. Sometimes the timing is not right for the project at that moment. The idea's correct, it's right. You have the idea, but maybe it's not the time for it to move forward. And then there's other projects that you get the idea and it's done in a week, and you turn it around and go forth with it. So um, really, right off the bat, that was probably the first major lesson that I was very grateful. I don't want to say I learned it the hard way, but I learned it the smart way. And had to learn very early on how to do business dealings, how to interact with the general public, how to conduct a meeting when I'm talking to a student's parents, or anything like that, and we're getting involved into horse showing and different stuff. As time progressed, I've always been a natural people person. As you can tell, I'm really shy. So I getting to sit in the room with, major music executives that, you know, I remember my mom telling me, she's like, if they give you like 10 minutes of their time, you're going to be doing something, and walking out 2.5 hours later, and then we're all going to lunch because we've been in this meeting so long. And I feel a lot of that was how I approached it. It's like, look, I'm not seeking the fame and fortune. I want to know why you've been in this business, what has kept you here, and why do you keep coming back to it? What is the movement that is keeping you in the industry when everything does change? Because I mean, even for them, back in Loretta Lynn's days, we were cutting straight vinyl. There was no redos, nothing. Everybody had to have their notes right. And then now with all the great technology, we can do redos and different stuff. So, I mean, that was my question to the industry executives, is why do you come back to it? What is that magnet and that pull that gets you up every morning, gets you in the driver's seat and says, I'm going to the studio today and I'm going to continue doing what I love because I enjoy it. And so those are the two lessons that I really feel like kind of pivoted and was pivotal in how everything grew and developed. And now most people know I do most of the business dealings. I want to know who I work for. I want to know who I'm working for. I want the people who are hiring me to know who they're working with. And so we make it a point to become very engrossed and very invested in those we work with. And I hate to say it's kind of the old way of, the shaking hand deals, but it's good faith, good word. And here we go. And of course the standard contracts and stuff, but it's really the reason we get to an end point is because we know one another well.
Jesse, as you're saying this, I got really curious here. Why do you keep coming back to it? Like you started out this whole thing about the ebbs and flows
Yes.
here. Like, what's the magnet? What keeps you getting back on the horse and so forth?
So let me explain this in the best way possible. And this is going to dive into a little personal, interpersonal, introspective view here of me. Um, I've got 2 degrees. I have a master's and a bachelor's. I'm currently working on a doctoral. Still working on what I call the big girl job plans. But let me back this up to when I graduated my bachelor's, and I remember my dad telling me, "Okay, it's time to go get a real job and do this and da 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 da." The thought of that made me physically sick to think about, yes, I could go do a desk job or do something for somebody else that, yes, I have an area of expertise in, but is it going to be truly what I enjoy doing? Is it going to be my why I get up every morning and am happy to go do and serve for that purpose? And the answer to that question was no. Um, I will say, as time has progressed and the talents and areas of expertise that I have had time to build in, my tastes have changed a little bit, but I've also created a demand on my schedule, meaning I still get to write the schedule. And so it's like, yes, I've been approached by these larger companies to come in and work on, behalf as a consultant, or as a research fellow, or as a an outside reviewer. And so it's been interesting because I get to still enjoy every aspect of my life, and I'm not stuck in the cycle of the same day in and day out routine. And one thing I've loved about the music business, still do to this day, is you get up every morning and you have no idea who you're going to get a call from. You have no idea where you may end up in the next 6 months for a show. Just like the other day, I was driving up to Birmingham, Alabama, and got a call from an old radio buddy of mine. And he's like, "Hey, I'm working at the TV station now. We're getting ready to do this massive project. Can we get you to come back up to New York if we get this thing off the ground?" And I'm like, "Absolutely." And keep in mind, it's been 5 years since I've gotten to see them, because we had the 2 years of, the virus that we're not going to talk about. And, that everybody's had shift and change. And I'm like, you look at that, it's half a decade, but that's a contact that says, "I know who we can get in to do this." And they, that's what I love, that the people connection is what I love. I love being able to give people inspiration to go out and do what they enjoy and what they love. Here's the thing: you can go to work, but you don't have to hate where you work and what you work on.
So Jesse, I had my mic muted so you couldn't hear it at the time, but you said we talked about 5 years as half a decade. I just was like, ooh,
Yeah.
like it in one sense it seems like so much time, but when you describe it as like half a decade, I'm like, wow, that's a substantial amount of time to really do things,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's a substantial amount of time overall. And I recognize, like, you gave me the gift of looking at some of my own time frames and being
Yes.
like, oh, 5 years, like, yeah, that's half a decade. Like, you
Yeah.
like if you came to me and said, I'm going to give you half a decade to get something done, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, that seems reasonable. That seems like enough
Easy.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Totally. I've got plenty of it. And
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Um, I really appreciate this here, and I want to pull apart certain portions of this because
Yeah.
I talk to my clients, I talk to the various outliers out there that um, and they're going through various stages what you talked about. One of the things that I caught from what you were saying here, well, with two things. Well, actually, there was like two things, and it all had to do with problems. Right.
Yes.
What I heard from you here was that, one, along the way, you kept giving yourself better problems. You're
Yes.
and the other part is, like, you also realized that there were many problems. And
Yes.
I would love to, like, play a little bit in that, because I think that, especially when it comes to entrepreneurship or making a big impact in the world, or like living up to your full potential, or being all of who you can be, a lot of times, like, we are sold something that feels really simple.
Yes.
If you just do X, then you're good, and then you get 7-figure years, and so on and so forth.
Right.
And when I was hearing you talk, I felt the experience, like you rattled off like 12 different problems that you had to solve. You're like, now what
Yes.
about this? And then about this? And then about this? And I'm like, if we could just do that like that, A, you've had to probably figure it out many times,
Yes.
and B,
Yeah.
I think it really speaks to something that is a different paradigm along the way. And I'd love to just get your thoughts on both the element of like better problems and the element of like so many problems to solve. What are your thoughts on that? What are your experiences with that?
Yeah. So to answer the first question, life gives you problems anyway. And my solution to that is I want the problem to be solved, but then I want the next problem to be a better problem to have. Prime example, my calendar being completely jam packed, probably way too tight, but it's a good problem to have to figure out how to better schedule my time. It's a great problem, but at the same time, it's like, golly, there's not enough hours in the day.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you do have a little bit of that, the half a decade, it creeps in because time does march on. And, it's not always there for you to capture that moment. And so to me, that's a great problem to have, but it is a problem. And it's one
Right.
of those things of where I have to find the shift in the personal boundary line between what is enough, what is not enough, and what's too much, because too much will give me to where we can't do anything on the schedule. Just the right amount will keep me at an even working pace that allows me not to burn out on any project that I'm working on, whether it's for the state, with the horses, with the music. Um, it allows me to pace myself at a great timing factor. Um, then to answer the second question about so many
Before we
problems.
get to
Oh,
the
sorry, go
second
ahead.
part, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
I want to get there, but I also realized that as you were answering that question, Jesse, it was as if you were talking to me. I was like, oh, maybe this is why I was so curious. Like you
yes,
brought up, you're like, I have so many
yeah,
the problem in particular you brought up around like the time element, and it was something that was just really real for me coming through, where it's like I had a problem of there was not enough people on my calendar, so I wasn't
yeah.
in, and then you
There's
give
too
that
many.
there's too many,
Yeah, yeah,
and so I just want to speak to that. I want to thank you for bringing that in here, and that element of pacing like in there, like, just that really gave me something here. That like
yes,
the way I interpreted pacing was there's still going to be enough time.
yes,
Don't overfill. Like
yep,
like I felt it as when I do that whenever I'm rushing.
yes,
Whenever I'm like,
yes,
it goes back to that thing we are talking about earlier. I'm just like, let me jam pack this thing. Who knows who's going to join? Who knows who's not? So on and so forth. I think that's also kind of interesting. I'm now making a connection to something you said earlier. Like you never know what call you're going to get, in
yes,
the industry here, which I think also leaves a space for opportunity
yes,
once you have enough motion there. So
yes.
we're going to move on to the second part in just a bit, but I'd love to get like any of your thoughts in there, uh,
Yeah,
yeah, just curious.
yeah,
I'm curious how you figured it out. That's what I'm really
yes.
curious about.
Well, there's really no one-stop shop answer. It's as
Lovely.
tailor-made for you as an individual as it is, you and I. What may be effective methods for me may be different for you.
Love it.
Um, but my biggest thing is, so I am a little bit of a technology freak, and
Mhm.
probably in a way that it's a good thing because I can actually utilize those tools to my advantage. So the whole idea of work smarter, I do not live by the work smarter, not harder. I'm like, no, you have to work smarter and still work harder if you want to stay ahead of the game.
Mhm.
But prime example is like with my lesson students. I have 14 clients, that's 14 different schedules. I don't have time to sit there and to message 14 different people and be like, hey, what time works best? Well, no. So I created an event platform that these students can go in and book times that I have available. And I tell the students, look, these are the open blocks. If you do not see something, let me know and we will work something out, because I don't want to let the students down. And they're excited. They're getting to come out. They're getting to participate, work towards their goal. And I want to make sure that that time is there. And sometimes there's not, but most of these, you'll find most people are understanding if you let them know what the boundaries are. Um, and so that's one thing that I found in my personal selection of scheduling is when it comes to the horseback riding lessons, let them take a look and see what's available. I'll put what I have readily available. If there's not something I can pull, we can talk about it. Let's work something out, do the typical good business deal. And then we make it work. Same thing with bookings. I felt so bad if I had already had something booked before and someone called me and said, "Hey, can we get you on this date?" And I always felt like I was letting somebody down when I said, "No, I'm booked. I'm sorry." Or, because to me, I take it personal. Like, this is my business. I want a good show for the event hirer. I want a good show for me. I want that good reputation. And so I feel like if I said no, they took it personally, but they didn't. I realized it's business. And so they're like, "Well, we'll just have to work towards getting you earlier next year." And I'm like, "Please do call, like, literally as soon as the event's over this year, call me. Go ahead. Let's book it out a year in advance. So I literally started pushing things out a year and 2 years in advance to book things. And of course, things change over time. I learned the value of flexibility. You have to be flexible. Things happen. Um, and you can't be just stuck in this. If it's got to go this way at a certain time, you've got to move with the ebb and flow of life because it's going to change. And you've got to be able to take the bull by the horns and make the best out of the lemons that you've been given. And so that's where, you know, I think, to kind of circle in the second question, because this is a great segue for it. That's how I was able to handle so many different problems at once. Plus, I'm a complex analytical thinker, if you can't tell. So I look at problems not so much in the breadth of how many there are, but which one is the most important? Which one is going to be the make or break? Which one's going to be, it's okay, like it can help, but it's not going to hurt either. And then the ones that are just obsolete, it's like that don't even need to be on my radar. Like we need to get to that. If and when that time comes, it's not even worth worrying about right now. Because that sometimes it'll take up so much cognitive space, you can't effectively focus on what you need to be working towards. And so that's where I say work smarter and harder, because it's both of those that are going to get you to the end result. And yes, there are days and there is time for rest. I want to make that very clear. I was definitely a victim of not taking time to rest, and I felt like I was being lazy if I took a day off or took some time for me. But time has taught me that if I don't take care of me, the business and nobody else will. It's a matter of I've got to make sure I'm at my best performing capability in order to serve those who I want to serve willingly. And so I want to make sure that those who are listening allow a day, allow 2 days if you have to. There are times now I will build in week trips at a time because I love scuba diving. And I will take that week as a time to unplug from phones, unplug from email, unplug from the computer, and take that time to just rejuvenate. I'm still actively learning, so I don't feel like I'm just sitting here twiddling my thumbs. And I'm getting to enjoy something that I have a passion for, but it's something it's mine. Nobody else can take that from me. They can come and enjoy it with me, but they can't say, "Oh, well, I'm going to take your time doing this." No, this is on my time.
Ooh, all right. So like I love that you brought this in here and you shared this with Outliers and sharing it with me. I like again, really great conversations when things just pop off within inside of me. So
Yes.
I'm now going to make an ask of any outlier that's listening to this. Outliers, like Jessie has been delivering a lot of value throughout this conversation. And what I get is that like there's many different ways that someone can benefit from this. So my ask here is if there's anyone in your world right now that could use any part of what has happened already in this conversation, please take the time and share this episode with them. Like let them like bring it to them. Like I like whether they're working smart or like and thinking or working hard and like wait, I'm trying to figure out that balance, or like I've been really struck by what you've been talking about, like getting ahead. Like I like that's what I hear when you're like I'm taking the week. I'm like, oh, it. I feel that you set your calendar ahead. You're like, this is the time that you said I build it into my life and build into your schedule.
Yes.
Like you're ahead of all the things that are coming to you. And so outliers, these are some of the things that are resonating with me, just given where I'm at. But I've learned, this is why I love doing the podcast in this way. Like everything meets people where they need to be. So my ask here is if we can just take some time right now to go and share this with someone. And if you don't have someone to share it with, take the time to make a review so that someone can find this later on and go on here. Because Jessie, like you are delivering, and I'm deeply appreciative. And yeah, right now it just resonated really, really hard. And I need to just make a call out or call in, I think, on that.
Well, thank you, and that's what this is about. We were talking off air about there are so many things in the world that we could look at that are what I call Debbie Downers or negative Nellies. And there's so many things that we are accustomed to seeing on a daily basis through smartphones, through internet, emails, interactions with people, and the lack of ability to have a conversation. It's important that we share one another's success. It's not a competition, never has been. I always loved it when people were like, well, did you see what so and so's doing? And I said, that's great. Well, don't you think you need to try that? No, because here's the thing, the root of self-doubt is comparison. And when you start comparing yourself to other people and like, oh, I'm behind, I can tell you, you're going to always be behind the 8 ball. You're never going to be ahead if you start comparing. But when you start tracking your active progress and looking at your contacts, your network, your works that have put you forward, the people you've impacted, the folks that have reached out to you on social media through a platform and said, oh, your music or whatever you may be doing, you may be a basket weaver and they just love the fact that you've made them a personal basket. I mean, it just, you never know who you're going to touch or influence. And my motto has always been, I don't care if I become a multi-billionaire. I don't care if I'm the poorest person on the planet, but if I've made a difference in just one person's life as an entertainer, my job is complete. It's not a matter of having sold out stadiums and having this. It's a matter of, do people resonate with the story? Do they resonate with something internally by experiencing something externally? And it inspire them regardless of age, background, ethnicity, any type of barriers that they may have. Does it encourage them to go and take that next step when maybe self-doubt or even somebody has said, why do you want to do that? That's not even possible. It's not a good idea. Well, how do you know it's a good idea unless you try? So that's kind of the way that I have always viewed the business. And I do think that is a part of the reason and I say we because it's the people that have been with me from the start. It's my parents, my students, the people who have been fans from the beginning. We as a collective whole have built something that people resonate with. And to me, that's my measure of success. It's not a matter of, oh, we're touring with Lainey Wilson or, doing this, that, and that would be great, great feather in the cap, no pun intended. But that's not the measure of the success that I'm looking for. I'm looking to impact lives in a meaningful way that encourage them to get out of the fog or get out of maybe a depression or anxiety or, dealing with people through bad relationships. That is one of the toughest things right now that I see is people are they're losing the art of how to communicate with one another. And I'm like, sometimes this is the only platform that we can communicate through is music because music still speaks. In my opinion, it speaks in so many different ways. It jumps leaps, bounds, barriers, and is a platform where I feel at home. I feel like I'm in the calling.
I do know, not through music specifically, but like one that the impact that it's had on me, but it's also just to be in the calling.
Yes.
And Jessie, like we're gonna start wrapping up today's conversation, but what I wanted to say is thank you.
Yeah.
And this thank you has almost nothing to do with the conversation we've had right now. It's an amazing thank you for that. I'm appreciative of that, but thank you for showing up. Thank you for honoring your 7-year-old self and your 15-year-old self and your 19-year-old self and onwards and onwards. Thank you for being someone that continues to bring this to your teams, the business deals that you create, the way that you show up on in a conversation and honestly, just the dedication you have toward like uplifting the world through the mechanisms that you choose. I'm saying thank you right now because I think that one, I feel like I want to say it for me, but I'm also going to say it on behalf of us outliers out there. Like, it's really wonderful to be with someone who has chosen to say, like, no matter what, this is what I want, and I'm going to bring it to life on behalf of myself and all of us. Even with the we, when you said, like, this is the collaborative thing that the collective thing that we've all created together. It's not just me that's here. I see that. And I see you in that there. And I really just want to just make sure I take time to acknowledge you. We'll start wrapping up soon, but I want to just really acknowledge you on that. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate that, and thank you for sharing your wisdom and time and your platform for people that are like you and I who enjoy what I call the other side of life. And what I mean by that is we enjoy the work that we do. It's not your typical 9 to 5, it's not your typical day in and day out, but it's work that matters. And I will almost go to bat and say that it is the work that's probably the most crucial right now in today's society because, um, everybody can go work a 9 to 5 job, but being able to share with others who you are, what the platform is, and encouraging somebody to do something that they may be out of their comfort zone on. That's a whole different realm. That's a whole different type of connectivity. That's a whole type of, emotional intelligence that, you know, we tap into because we maybe have been in their shoes or we've had a similar experience. Um, and again, I do not believe that God lets opportunities go void. I'm a firm believer that He uses experiences and lessons in life to prepare us for the next stage because at some point we're going to run into somebody that needs it. And so, thank you for creating a space of where people can come and learn and gain those type of insights, and then also just gain inspiration and take a deep dive into themselves too. I mean, this is some deep stuff. It's good.
I will. That put a smile on my face. Y'all can't see the smile, but like you can probably hear the smile right now. Jesse, I appreciate you playing with me here today, and I appreciate what you bring out for us here with us outliers. I like to end our conversations with 3 questions. Okay.
Sure.
Um, the first one here is just for anyone that's listening right now. If they want to go deeper in the journey with you, if they're like, hey, I want to like go and totally surprise Jessie with like where her day might be going and where we can book her or wherever it is. No, meaning whether it's now or a year in the
Yeah.
future,
Yeah.
right? What's the best way for people to continue down with you?
Yeah, so the best way is going to be to check out our website, jessielynn.net. That's JESSIELYNN.net. And then, of course, our productions website as well, Dirt to Diva Productions. That's all spelled out. So there's no two in it, I promise. And then, of course, you can always connect with us on socials. We usually have it's usually either me or one of my other 3 team members that are on site, usually most of the time. And we will get back to you. One of us will get back to you within a timely manner. So that's going to be the best way.
Yeah, outliers, don't hesitate to reach out. I even as you're talking, Jesse, like there's people in my mind. I'm like, I think I should connect you with. I don't know where, like how this would go in, but
Yeah,
greatness, meeting greatness, I think can only help out the world. Right?
absolutely, absolutely.
So that's one. The second question here is like for you, these next 2 questions are about you yourself here, right? For you, what's one insight or takeaway or something that like kind of bubbled up in this conversation that you're walking away here with?
Probably I hate to say it, but a sigh of relief. Here's why I say that. When you get so engrossed in creating your platform or creating the journey, and I say creating the journey because, yes, some of it is circumstantial, but also a lot of it is how you react to the circumstances that you're given. You often will find yourself questioning, does what I do matter? Is it important to
Mhm.
people on the other side of the screen, on the other side of the earphones, on the people in front of me at the stage? Is the work that I'm doing meaningful to others, not just to me? And so I think today, probably one of the greatest takeaways that I'm walking away with is reassurance and peace that my job is being fulfilled and that I'm doing that job well. And it's it's a lot of different emotions for me. It's an overwhelming sense of gratitude. It's an overwhelming sense of taking time to reflect, because sometimes I don't think we take enough time to reflect on what we have done. And it's important to celebrate those moments in life. I think sometimes I can be guilty of kind of fast pacing through, and we got to get to the next thing, we got to get to the next thing. And I actually don't take time to check back in and say, hey, this was a major deal. You need to take time to celebrate, what you've accomplished. And don't ever tell anybody that you can't celebrate something that you've accomplished, because that's part of the process. It's part of reaping the reward of the work that you've put in. So yeah, I definitely would say a major sense of gratitude and an overwhelming sense of peace and joy is in my heart today.
I feel you. Thank you, Jessie. We're going to end here with one last question, and this is a question
Sure.
for you.
Okay.
I call it the time capsule question, and
Okay.
it's actually my favorite question out of all the things I ask.
Okay.
Come here. So the time capsule question goes like this: You're going to leave a message for your future self in 2 half decades, so a decade from now, right? To
A
listen to.
decade from now. Okay.
Yeah,
Two
a
half
decade.
decades. I love it. I
Yeah.
love it.
That's a callback, y'all.
Yes.
But you're gonna leave a message for yourself here, and this is really just something like based on the wisdom that you have right now. Like you're gonna keep growing, you're gonna keep doing things, you're gonna take on bigger problems, you're gonna be helping the world out. Like there's gonna be so much greatness that comes in, and there's something that you know to be true right now that you may never want to forget. So, what's the
Yes.
message that you would leave for yourself to listen to in another 10 years?
In another 10 years, the message I'd want to leave to myself is, first of all, don't forget who's in control. Um, Everything that is within my grasp is just that, it's within my grasp, and that is all that I can do. And without the Lord, apart from Him, I can do nothing. And so remember who the true creator is and who is truly in 100% control. And then the second thing that I would say is remember the why. Remember why you stepped up to the plate, why you chose to do what you are doing. And basically, the 5 W's and the H is remember who, what, when, where, why, and how. And that, I think, will be a great roadmap to get you out or in to whatever you're thinking about right now, and to really take that next step and have the breakthrough that you're needing.
With that, Jessie, we are going to come to a conclusion here. Um, I have been I have not held back my appreciation for you, but says know that it carries forth as we go off here. Outliers, if you're like, just reach out, like
Yes.
keep growing together, partner together, grow things, work with each other. Like the world is going to be better off with y'all together here. Jesse, any last thing you want to leave for any outlier that's listening? Otherwise, we'll end up for today.
Yes, let me tell you, if you are listening to this podcast or this episode and anything that I have said or that we have talked about has resonated with you, take that, hang on to it, cling to it, and pray with all your might that you may have a clear guidance and path to take that idea or that invention or, the spur of the moment trip that you never know may change your life forever, and take it and be a part of it and embrace the moment and see where it goes. You never know what opportunity is going to come up if you never open the door and try.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. We'll see you next time. Have a great day.